All right, we're about to dive into a piece of philosophy that tackles one of the biggest questions out there. What are we actually here to do? The answer it gives is, well, it's incredibly simple but also mind-blowingly deep. And it all kicks off with another question. But first, let me ask you something. And really, take a second to think about this. If you had to leave everything else behind, your job, your stuff, your memories, everything, and you could only carry one single thing forward from this life, what would you choose? It's a tough one, right? Well, the philosophy we're looking at today, it doesn't hesitate for a second. It gives a really stark, clear answer. The only thing you truly have, the only thing that's actually yours to keep, is your heart. That's it. Nothing else. And that one statement right there, it changes everything. Because if our heart is the only thing we truly own, it kind of forces us to look at all the other stuff we spend our lives chasing in a totally different light. Think about it. Our bodies, our careers, our houses, even what other people think of us. This philosophy calls all of that rental items. We get to borrow them for a while, use them during our time here. But eventually, that return date comes up, and we have to give it all back. So when the rental period is over, what are you left holding? Just your heart. So, okay, if we go along with this pretty radical idea that our heart is the only thing that's permanent, then a really clear singular mission starts to come into focus. The source calls this the correct pursuit of the heart. And this isn't just, a nice suggestion. It's framed as the most important job we could possibly have. It just makes sense, right? If you can only keep one thing, then your number one priority should be taking care of it, improving it, polishing it. Now, what's really interesting here is that word correct. Like, who gets to decide what's correct? The philosophy makes it clear this isn't about what you or I might personally think makes a good heart. Instead, it's about chasing a divine and infinite ideal, what the source calls the heart of God. And that's why it's a pursuit. It's not some destination you just arrive at. It's more like an infinite horizon you're always moving toward. Okay, this is all very grand and beautiful. But it brings up a huge, very practical question. I mean, how in the world are you supposed to pursue the heart of God on a random Tuesday afternoon when you're stuck in traffic? How do we take this epic mission and actually do something about it? Well, the good news is we're not left guessing. The source actually breaks this monumental task down into 3 really concrete, actionable steps. It's like a simple guide for a super profound journey. So let's walk through them. All right, step 1. This is all about managing what goes on inside our own minds day in and day out. You got to be a really diligent gardener of your own inner world. And these are the weeds we need to be on the lookout for. Things like jealousy, complaining, anger, suspicion. We all know these feelings. They pop up when we miss the bus, when a coworker gets praised, or maybe just when we're having a bad day. The source is clear. They're pretty much endless. And here's the absolute key. The goal is not to magically stop these thoughts from ever showing up in the first place. That's impossible. We're human. The real work, the actual practice, is something way more subtle and way more achievable. Think of it like being a traffic cop in your own mind. A jealous thought might just appear, but you don't have to let it park and build a house there. You see it, you acknowledge it, yep, there it is, and then you consciously choose not to give it any more energy. You don't repeat it, you don't feed it, you don't let it grow into some big resentment. This ancient wisdom is basically describing a core principle of modern therapy. You can't always control that first thought, but you can absolutely control your reaction to it. So what happens when we mess up? When one of those negative thoughts actually slips out and becomes a mean comment or a bad decision, because it's going to happen. So what do you do then? The instruction here is super clear, and it's got 2 parts. First, reflect and do it immediately. Not later tonight, not tomorrow, right in that moment. Acknowledge what happened and why. Second, and this is the game changer, make a sincere vow to yourself to never repeat that exact same mistake again. And this process, it's incredibly powerful. It takes a moment of failure, something that can make you feel ashamed, and it completely transforms it into fuel for growth. The mistake isn't a permanent stain on you anymore. It's now valuable data. It shows you exactly where your heart needs a little more polishing. It's all about moving forward. And that leads us perfectly into the third and final step, which is really about the mindset for this whole journey. It's about understanding that this isn't a short-term project. Wow, that's a serious dose of humility right there. The source is saying that nobody gets a pass on this work. It doesn't matter how wise or successful or enlightened you get, The dust of everyday life can still settle on your heart. Those clouds can always form. This is not a task you check off a to-do list. Now, that might sound exhausting, like a chore that never, ever ends. But there's another way to see it, a much more hopeful one. If the work is never finished, that means our potential for growth is infinite. There is literally no ceiling on how bright or how kind or how clear our hearts can become. So there we have it, our 3 steps. Tend your inner garden of thoughts, turn your failures into fuel for growth, and embrace this whole thing as a lifelong process of polishing. And when you put them all together, you get something that's way more than just a self-help guide. What started out as a simple question, what can we actually take with us, has led us to this really profound way of looking at life. This isn't just about feeling a little better each day. It's a framework for seeing our entire existence as a journey to uncover the most real, the most brilliant version of ourselves, which is the only part of us that lasts forever. And that leaves us with one last beautiful question to ponder. This whole idea is about polishing a gemstone, right? Wiping away all the dust and the grime from life. So if our life's work is the polishing, it kind of begs the question, what is the original brilliance of that stone? What is the raw, untouched state of our own heart, just waiting to be revealed?